This video has been made possible by BENQ. If you're a digital artist in need of a professional grade monitor, then check out BENQ.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome to part 2 in the Q&A series. As I told you guys on Monday, I received a whole bunch of questions from you guys. I tried to answer all of them, but there are way too many. So hey, this is part 2, alright? Now, I'm not going to cover all of them because a lot of the questions are related to things that already have been covered on my channel or questions that are duplicates, right? So let's just get started here. So first question by Dova Kev. And again, guys, I apologize if I mispronounce your name. I'm trying, right? Anyway, the question is, should a junior/starting 3D artist like myself apply for senior position roles? I've tried to find junior 3D generalist modeling jobs, but most if not all jobs are for a higher position as well as wanting 3+ years of experience. It's hard to get your foot in the door, but would it be worth your while to apply for senior positions? I would not necessarily give that advice. I think one of the most difficult things is getting to the business, right? And especially nowadays, it's usually some type of internship or, getting a fresher job, something like that, right? It's all about the quality of your work and the added value you bring to the table. And that's kind of hard if you don't have any experience, right? So it's the case where you have to prove that value before you get that opportunity. Now, there are many ways you can do that. Like I said, you can try to find an internship, right? A lot of companies nowadays will give you a paid internship. So that's one option. The other option would be to participate in jobs or projects that don't necessarily initially make money, but get your name out there, get you some exposure, get you some attention for your portfolio and that kind of thing. Other than that, it's very much related to your local circumstances. Where do you live? What's your skill set? What's your level? But hey, it is hard and you just have to go with it, right? Okay, next question. Deep Sita Art. When I take out the ambient occlusion pass, some objects get missed. How do I solve that problem? Well, I honestly never heard of anything like this, to be honest. So I couldn't say. I assume you are rendering individual passes, right? And then, doing a composition with them. Never heard of objects being missed because of, the ambient occlusion pass. So, yeah, if you consistently have that problem, drop me an email at mikehermes@mhtutorials.com, put in some screenshots, and I'll see if I can sort it out for you, okay? Okay, the next one, also by Deep Sita Art, is an interesting one because I get this question all the time. Can I add texturing without UV mapping? Sorry, but I don't like UV mapping, that's why. Now, first of all, very few people like UV mapping. And if you don't know what UV mapping is, it's basically cutting a 3D model into, in a way that you can make it flat into a 2D surface and then apply texture to it, right? Now, can you apply texturing without UV mapping? No, you can't. If you want to have properly scaled textures on your model, you have to have proper UV maps that have been scaled accordingly, right? Now, don't be confused by using shaders. That's a different thing. If you are, for example, in Maya and you apply a Lambert or something like that, it's basically like dropping the entire object in a bucket of paint, right? Texturing is more like wrapping a piece of gift paper onto a 3D object. So, can you do it without UV mapping? No, you can't, okay? Next question by George. If I had the money for only 1 or 2, what PC components should I look to improve the most for animation? More or better RAM, GPU, CPU, SSD, etc. Right? Which ones are the most or least important? Well, again, good question, and also a question that I get a lot, right? Now, when it comes to a PC, it is the combination of things that make it important, right? So it's not just a CPU, it's not just a GPU. If you have a super strong and fast CPU, but you got 2 gigs of RAM, then nothing's going to work, right? So it is a balancing act. Now, that said, because you specifically say animation, it kind of depends on what type of rendering option you're using. Most renderers are CPU based, but more and more are starting to be GPU based as well, right? Now, if you have a super expensive RTX card GPU and you're rendering with your CPU, not a huge effect there, right? So what I would advise you to do is look at the minimal specs for the application you're using. Let's say, I don't know, Maya, right? I think the minimum spec for RAM is 8 gigs, and I would at least double that. So I would go with something like 16, right? And make sure that you can upgrade that at some point. CPU wise, if you buy a new CPU, usually they're fairly up to date and fairly fast, right? Focus on something that's multi-core. Now, excuse me, for the SSD drive, and I personally use one as my main drive, right? What I do is I put my program applications on there, right? So Maya and ZBrush and so forth. My actual files and everything else is saved externally. The SSD gives you the opportunity to access files fast and to save them out fast, right? And then the GPU, like I said, it's kind of depending on how you render out your sequences, right? If you're doing CPU-based rendering, that's a thing. Now, if you are using render services like render farms, then that changes everything. I mean, you're not even rendering yourself, right? So in that case, you could, kind of go a bit cheaper on the CPU and GPU. Now, I don't know what your budget is, but it's just about the balance of everything, right? That's key to it. Okay, next question. Let's see, from Mantan Gohel. Yeah. I'm making an open world game in Unreal Engine 4 as my last year diploma project. So I wanted to know, how can I make the models? The models are high poly and heavy, as light as possible. Okay, so how can I make the models as light as possible to run the game? I also want to learn 3D modeling for my game, so I need some tips. Now, I'm a bit confused here, because what you're saying is you are in your last year diploma project, right? Now, if you are in your last year, you should have been taught how to model 3D models, right? To begin with. Second, if you are working on a game, then it's critically important to understand the concept of low poly and high poly, right? Models for games should be low poly, where you bake your normal maps on them with your high poly model. If you only have high poly models and you want to use it in the game, that's not going to work. And I am very curious why that is not something that has been covered in your school, right? So yeah, there's that. Okay, let's see, what else we got? We got one more question, guys. All right, from Yash Shinde. I need your help, Mike. Now I am making weapon concepts in Photoshop. I don't have a BFA degree or any other art degree. I have a mechanical engineering degree. So will it be worth for me to become a concept artist without a degree? Well, first of all, that's a very personal question. Whether it's worth it or not is up to you, right? If I kind of read the question as in, do I have to have that degree to make it in the industry? No, you don't. Does it help? Of course. I mean, it always gives you a leg up. It's important if you have a degree, because you start to build your network at an early age, right? And at an early stage, that's good. But at the end of the day, it's about your work. Now, I personally have a mechanical engineering degree myself as a background. I found it very beneficial because it helps you to understand certain constructive things, right? I always give the tip to people: if you want to model something, understand how it's constructed, right? If you want to model a car, if you want to model a motorcycle, anything like that, if you understand how it's constructed, it helps you to kind of break it down into pieces and to model it, in a proper way. So yeah, you specifically talk about concept work, right? Focus on your portfolio and focus on building your network. And with your engineering background, you should be okay, right? Now, these are the remaining questions that I didn't cover on Monday. If you have any additional questions that you want answered, just drop me an email, mikehermes@animationtutorials.com. I will help you if I can. Next Monday, we're going to be doing another modeling video. Okay, see you guys then. Bye.